Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to WCS America. Moonglade asking me if he's getting a close-up. I'm saying yes in the lobby.
Giving us the look.
Oh, that's great. All right, I'm asking the players are ready now. Moonglade versus Alicia. They're tied 1-1. Of course, Game 2 revolving around the Mutalisk. Players are ready to go for Game 3. Moonglade, always a classy character, willing to put on a show.
You know, he's got to be feeling comfortable. That last game, as soon as he got control, as soon as he had a moment where he had map control, he defended DTs, he had to meet us out. It was just all uphill from there. Like, he knew exactly how to play. He kept expanding. He kept defending his expansions from DT harass, which is so key because Alicia really tried to keep him from taking over the map using DTs. And Moonglade's like, nah, I'm just going to always have Overseers and units exactly where I need to have them to stop any type of DT harass.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. Like, as a Protoss player, you don't really have the ability to move out and be aggressive, right? Because then your mutas are just going to counterattack. You need to keep those Stalkers back home, or High Templar, or Stargate, Phoenixes, or something. And most things you send across the map, the mutas can just kill on their own, right? So the DT, very important in helping make that happen. So yeah, very important play there from Moonglade. Did a great job, and now we're tied 1-1 in the top left-hand location of Belshir Vestige on this game number 3. I present to you the Red Protoss player. Representing Team Axiom and hailing from Korea, he is Alicia.
You know what's interesting, if you take a look at Alicia's run, he really utilized Void Rays to a very heavy degree. But we haven't seen any Void Rays yet.
That's true, and I have a story for you. Alicia, of course, taking out Nestea with a lot of Void Ray play in the round of 16. But here we are, in the bottom right-hand location, the Blue Zerg player. Representing Australia and Team Envy, he is Moonglade. There he is. Of course, in the lobby before Moonglade joined the lobby, I said Muta Imba to Alicia, and he said DT bad, and then I said Void Ray Imba, or I said Void Ray good or something, and he smiled. like the little smiley face. In the lobby. So. I'll have to see if Alicia heeds my advice.
You know, that's what you told him in a match against Nestea.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I'm worried about playing Nestea. You told him to make Void Rays.
Yeah.
He made Void Rays and he won.
He did.
Void Rays are very good. Moonglade trying to get an expansion down, Probe being very annoying from Alicia.
Yeah. Some Protoss players just not scout in favor of a higher economy, not really worrying about that hatchery going down. But then your opponent could get like a 15 hatch or something, which you don't usually want to let happen. Of course, we have a spawning pool opening from Moonglade, so no such shenaniganry happening here.
This probe is actually delaying this drone. This is some of the best probe versus drone micro I've seen.
He's determined, man.
He's
determined. Oh.
It's very rare to block a hatchery for that long without putting on a pylon.
I've seen you try it, and nothing. No.
It's yeah. I can't micro probes, man. But that was extremely. Even most pro games are not as long of a delay as we just saw there from Alicia. So that was a very, very nice move there. Delayed the hatchery for a very long time, and he must have confidence in that because you were saying a lot of Protoss players don't scout as early, and that's usually true. With the gateway expansions, we often don't see that early scout.
Yeah.
Normally the early scout's more associated with a Forge or a Nexus first, so you can tell, oh, do I need to get the cannon before the Nexus or anything crazy? Is he going early pool? But the gateway opening is not as important because Mothership Core comes down in time to really stop anything.
Slowlings trying to sneak by into the natural as the Queen desperately makes her way to the natural.
Look at the Zerglings when they split up.
Yeah.
Each Zergling went in a different direction. One tried to make the run for the ramp.
Other one pursuing a probe. Other two pursuing another probe. Of course, trying to prevent the probes from blocking off, walling off as long as possible can be really annoying. Of course, Moonglade potentially a little bit of payback. He was annoyed about the lack of a hatchery. Now trying to be annoying on his opponent's side of the field by getting in the probe's way as they try to put down their little fancy warp gate buildings that the drones don't know much about, or the lings don't know much about.
He was also able to see that probe leaving the base, so now he's trying to find it. Overlord, is he going to see it? Yes, he sees that probe, so now he knows exactly where it is. Of course, he's got to be careful that he didn't lay any pylons down before it got here, which is pretty unlikely because Protoss doesn't have that extra money to really put down those pylons this early on. And finding that probe is a nice little advantage for Moonglade. Every little scouting probe you get does make a difference.
Especially when your opponent's going for a gateway opening, it's much more likely that they're going to want to go for that warp gate pressure. So really identifying that probe opening proxy pylons is very important. And again, throughout this series, we've kind of seen how important that is.
Moonglade has 4 drones in the middle of the map.
Yeah.
That was either they got a note about a party spot.
Yeah.
About 2/3 of the way across
You
the
gotta
map.
check that out.
They were hanging out by those 2 palm trees.
Oh, you see, that explains it.
Yeah.
But they're leaving.
I guess they realized no one else showed up. It was one of those parties where you like get the letter, but what actually probably happened is the other drones didn't want them to mine, so they told them, you know, the base is over there. Then they went there and they realized they were tricked and there's no minerals to mine.
Poor little drones.
Didn't
Poor little
work
drones.
out.
Or he was faking a drone all-in.
Yeah, it could have been. Unfortunately.
Or he misclicked.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely one. Just a simple rally misclick. Moonglade has been doing this same ability the last 2 games where he does have the Zerging speed, and then he also goes ahead and gets the Roach Warren. And the Roach Warren's there preemptively in case there's any gateway units coming out. You can get a couple roaches out to deflect that. A nice scout by Moonglade, able to spot that Stargate.
Phoenix on the way. Gonna start pecking at overlords right from the beginning. 3rd hatchery going down here for Moonglade, as well as a lair and an evolution chamber. So we see some upgrades. We're gonna see some upgrades get started. Fairly standard incomes at this point. 47 to 40 harvesters in favor of the Zerg player. Of course, again, very standard for this point in the game. Now, what we're gonna look at going forward is what upgrades Moonglade gets. Of course, gases for both players are going to be very important to observe. And of course, the pro count for Alicia as well, so we can see if he's going for a 2-base all-in of some sort, or he's going to take a 3rd. For now, though, it seems like game 1, honestly, between these 2 guys.
Very similar, and Moonglade is again going for that ranged upgrade. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go for that Hydra Viper combination again. It is a very powerful combination. It's a great response to a Protoss who plays air into Colossi, because with the gas he spent on air than the gas he spent on Colossi, it's hard for them to get a lot of Templar up very quickly. And also, they go air into Colossi. If you have some speedings early, you can really delay their 3rd base for quite a while, because they're spending so much money on the Stargate, the Phoenixes, then the robotics facility, then the robotics support bay. All that tech really adds up.
Phoenix is trying to find out what kind of damage they can do. A Spore Crawler being repositioned there at the 3rd base, going to try to shoo away that Mothership Core, being a little bit annoying. At that hatchery, honestly bringing us to half health, which is very impressive for a Mothership Core. 4 Phoenixes overhead in between the natural and the 3rd. Some Lings chilling outside his opponent's natural. Of course, Moonglade just wants to make sure his opponent doesn't take a 3rd without him knowing about it. And we have a Hydra Net about to finish. And again, remember before, he didn't research roach speed. It's the same exact situation here, really focusing on getting those Hydras out.
Interestingly, though, he's going for a Spire instead of the Infestation Pit. In the other game, his Infestation Pit was finishing up, and he was starting Hive before a 10-minute mark. He obviously won't be able to get the Hive that fast this game, but he is going to have that Spire. He is getting +1 weapons for the Hydras, so he may be looking to do a Hydra Corruptor combination. Use Corruptors against the Colossi. That typically doesn't work if your opponent has sentries, because even if you kill the Colossi, the sentries often do pretty well against the Stalkers, or against the Hydra, just because you're not going to have a whole lot of Hydras given how expensive Corruptors are. He also could be looking to do some Hydra pressure, and then do a massive Muta switch later on. Although with the 4 Phoenix constantly skying them, I think it's probably more likely just going to look to get a few Corruptors.
I mean, another thing is like put the Spire up to try to fool your opponent, kind of a thing, and maybe try to get your opponent to expect it, and then just you're gonna have that Spire. You're gonna have it forever. It's just one of those tech buildings you can put down, so you always have that option. And he's starting the +1 air, so this might be like a really delayed Mutalisk switch attempt, like even waiting for +2 on the Mutas. You know, some players will do that.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's not exactly clear what he's up to right now. The one thing that is clear is without an Infestation Pit, it's going to be very difficult to go heads up against the type of army that Alicia is creating with the sentries, with the Colossi, and with those Stalkers.
All right, Phoenix is still patrolling overhead. The Spire is
He's banking a lot of money. I think the range attack on the Hydras, I think, is just a fake. I think he's getting that so that when Alicia sees it, he sees the Hydras, he sees the attack upgrade on him, he's like, you know, sometimes people go Hydras into Mutas, but with the attack upgrade, he's much more likely to read it as a you know, Hydra Viper, Hydra Roach, Hydra Corruptor type of combination, and he has no idea that Mutas are on the way.
Yeah, he did see the Spire in the main base, but again, you know, going into Colossi, going into Thermal Lances, if you knew 12 Mutas were on the way, you would not be doing that. You would be, you know, adding on a Stargate.
Taking out the Observer. Nice little move. Yeah, I think he thinks it's probably for Corruptors. And his Blink is going to be kind of late as well. The Phoenixes are going to help out. 4 Phoenixes are going to help out, but without range, with only 4, the Mutas can deal with those.
Hydra's backing up, and now Alicia might be thinking, okay, what's going on? Where's your army? What's happening? He still hasn't seen a Mutalisk yet. Phoenix is patrolling around the air, but Moonglade doing a really good job hiding those Mutas, and there's nothing that'll see him on the left-hand side here.
You know, if he runs into Alicia's army and snipes the Mothership Core before recall goes off,
Oh, that could be disastrous.
he only has 3 Stalkers in army. And if he loses the Colossi, then all of a sudden it becomes much weaker against ground units. That's exactly what he's doing. He's got to recall out, or actually Moonglade's just going to be scared.
Oh, he's going to just attack with his ground army, Zealots and Colossi, and just warp in Stalkers in the main. Definitely completely caught off guard here is Alicia. Muta's attacking into the main. So many probes are going to fall. Again, Moonglade taking Alicia completely off guard, but we're seeing Alicia peel away, most of his ground forces, Zealots, Immortals, Colossi, attacking into his opponent's 4th base. The Muta's going to be backing up a little bit, trying to deal with the Phoenixes. More Phoenixes in production here from Alicia to try to deal with this, but can Moonglade deal with this ground army? Looks like he's preparing to do so. Guardian Shield going down, and there's the recall. 2 Zealots. Feels very sad.
A very smart recall. He needs to keep the Colossi and Zealots alive because his economy is not that good after losing the probes in his main. So he can't afford to rebuild anti-ground army. Right now he needs to focus on pure anti-air, so keeping the Colossi and Zealots alive gives him that ability to threaten moving out and killing bases of Moonglade. It also makes him not have to worry about speedlings joining in the battle with the Mutas.
Moonglade adding on some more drones, really trying to get his economy up there. Again, we're approaching a situation that we saw in Game 2 where Moonglade is really prioritizing the Mutas and the Corruptors. Now, the difference here is Alicia adding on a second... Did he add on a second? I don't know if he added on a second Stargate.
Just one Stargate.
Just one, but adding on the Fleet Beacon. I'm a little bit surprised he's not adding on that second one.
Alicia, I think he still wants to have gateway units as a big chunk of his army. So it also could be he's recognized the fact that Moonglade is willing to get Corruptors. And Corruptors can do such a good job of zoning out Phoenix. If you get a whole ton of Phoenix with the range upgrade, you can sometimes get enough to even take on the Corruptors because they do outrange Corruptors with that range upgrade. But that takes a lot of Phoenix, and it's not easy to do on 3 bases if you weren't already going for it from the start of the game.
All right, Muta's heading back into the main base of his opponent. Does Alicia have a recall available? Yes, he does. Not using it just yet. Setting the Phoenixes back instead, but a lot of probes falling already. Cannon going to get taken out before finishing as well. And Alicia's having a ton of trouble dealing with this Mutalisk harassment, sending Phoenixes back. Stalkers being warped in, trying to blink back there. But there's so many Mutas in this composition. Colossi might fall. Moonglade go for the direct engagement here.
Photon overcharge is going to force him away. I don't think he understood quite how many Stalkers there were. He thought he could fight for a bit, and he didn't trade badly. He traded just fine. He took out a couple Phoenix with the Corruptors, took out a good number of Stalkers. And the thing is, Moonglade has a greater economy than his opponent, so trading is perfectly fine with him. If he can do some damage, keep trading units, he can replace his units, and his opponent is going to have a much harder time replacing units. Also, trading will allow him to spend his money. Because if he maxes out, then his money can't be as useful as it can be if he's trading.
94 drones on the map for Moonglade, 5 bases, and this is what you do when you go Mutas and Corruptors. Engagement happening here. Alicia pushing across the map, feeling a little bit confident, but as more and more Mutas get added on here, I don't know if he can make this work. There's no Storm in this army. Only about 4 Phoenixes.
The Hydra's blinked in, but the Stalker's blinked in, but the Hydra's turned around.
Oh, Moonglade looking like he wants to engage here. A little bit tentative at this point in time, waiting for more Mutas, waiting for more Lings to approach the field. And as long as his bases aren't being attacked, he's not really pressured to engage this. He has a spine wall at this natural. No reason not to back up. Make Alicia consider engaging in there, but I would expect him to come try to save this hatchery in these drones.
He's either going to try to save it, or he's just going to counterattack, saying, you know what, I have 5 bases. If I engage in a battle, maybe I'll win, but if I lose, all of a sudden I can lose the game. Whereas I can just sack this hatchery and go attack you, and I still have 4 bases.
Oh, I mean, but the thing is, Alicia can recall here, so we'll have to see if he decides to do that, because if he doesn't, it's going to be very, very, very scary back home. Alicia heading into his opponent's natural expansion. Kind of a base trade situation here. It all depends on whether or not Alicia is going to recall to help protect his bases back home, trying to engage these spine crawlers right now. They're not going to get completed, and might be full-on base trade mode, Nick.
It could be, but yeah, it usually favors a Zerg with the Mutas play. Alicia does have the 2 Archons in his composition, so in a straight-up engagement, the Archons could do some magical damage, but he's losing every one of his bases, and as long as Moonglade has enough minerals to constantly rebuild hatcheries, he can just go ahead and literally try to kill every single building of Alicia. And sometimes it can get to a point where Alicia has to camp his army on the building, while Moonglade can then just rebuild hatcheries and restart his economy.
Moonglade has 1,800 minerals at this point in time. He can take hatcheries anywhere he wants, splitting up his units, sending his Lings into his opponent's main base, sending his Mutas and Corruptors to his 3rd base. There's the recall back. They're going to try to protect the 3rd, but I don't know if that's enough. The Mutas continue to engage here.
And you know what? The Mutas are fully confident when they're right on top of the army. Only 1 Archon left. It is doing decent damage, but the Phoenixes are all down. I think there's enough mutas there. It's going to beat the army straight up.
Oh, more mutas coming forward, and Alicia can't be feeling good. Moonglade up in supply, 155 to 43. Moonglade on the verge of going up 2-1 in this best of 5. And there's the GG from Alicia. Moonglade is able to make it happen in a game that started with, you know, a Hydra play, putting down a Spire that didn't seem to have much purpose. Moonglade tricking his opponent into thinking he was going for that Hydra composition like he did in game 1, but switching right into the mutas.
I really love the idea of adding that range upgrade onto the Hydras. A player like Alicia is always going to check the upgrade path.
Yeah.
He sees the Spire, he sees Hydra production, he sees the upgrade on the Hydra, he says, okay, the Spire is for Corruptors to kill my Colossi. I just got to keep making Stalkers, Sentries, and Colossi, and then I'll be good. And then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of mutas show up in his main, and he was in a world of trouble.
Crank's like, come on, Scout, man, what are you doing? And he's just like, oh, I'm sorry, man, mutas, you're crazy. You're so crazy. You know, Alicia, guys, he's great mood, man. All smiles. He's a great guy. Honestly, Alicia is so cool.
You think he's going to go back to his Void Race?
Should I go talk to him?
I think maybe you should talk to him and tell him, you know, the secret to PvZ.
Oh, man. Well,
the Axiom secret, we'll call it. Because the Axiom guys do historically love.
The Axe, right?
Yes.
Of course, we can share that. But, guys, we gotta get going here. So we're Moonglade currently up 2-1. Coming up next, we're gonna have Game 4. Alicia versus Moonglade. Moonglade 1 win away from advancing to the consolation bracket final. Stay tuned.